Now the next one should bring forth, hopefully, quite a few goals. That's basically streets and infrastructure. That includes sidewalks, curb and gutter, asphalt, all types of infrastructure improvements. Paving, storm sewer as well.
What's the idea behind this? Basically, whether or not we're just gonna fund it?
I think Gene might have brought this up a little bit on paving, right, Gene? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
That's my expertise is streets and highways.
Right.
And I ride around this town quite often, and we need to really address our infrastructure because it's falling apart in a lot of areas. And, but it goes right back to what Jay just said. We need money. In order to repair them, you got to have funding in order to do it. But just to go asphalt a street, just to say it needs asphalt, is not the answer. You actually got to repair it first, and then asphalt it after you repair the cracks and the holes and whatever. Because if you put asphalt on a street that's not ready for the asphalt, and 2 years after that, you've got the holes back in the asphalt. And I can show you, 6th Street's a good example. It was paved about 5 years ago, and you look at it down in front of the city bank, whole road's falling apart.
Right.
And so we need to realize that either we get money in some way, either by bond or some way. I don't know how. Our budget will not sustain enough money to repair our streets at this point without borrowing money to the bond market and paying it back in a loan. So I really don't know how in the world we plan on doing this. But I'd like to be champion of this and see if we can work together with the Director of Public Works and you and others to see where we can get finances, maybe through revenue sharing. I'm not sure how the state is on revenue sharing at this point. But I know
Gene, are you asking for the plan to complete? Like, we're going to spend X amount of dollars 1 year, or we're just going to take care of these streets 1 year? Or?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is find out if we can get financial assistance. Second thing is, and then sit down and get a plan on what areas we need to work on. Well, this year we've got a plan. I think we approve one.
We approve one, not
And
fully
then go
funded.
from there, because I noticed the bridge on going back to the infrastructure, the bridge on Jackson Street needs a decking on it. It's got potholes in the deck already. It's falling out. And if we don't get it before it gets down into the rebar, you're going to have major problems. So we need to look at that and need to get money set aside for that project. So, there's a lot of issues here that we need to look at, and we need to work towards some type of financial goal through our budget or through the state in order to follow through with these particular issues. And I think that I'd like to see us champion some type of a program with our Public Works Director and Joe, you as well, and see what kind of cost and where can the money be brought forward from. If you do have to go to a bond market.
So we're looking at probably developing a comprehensive paving plan and how to fund it.
And repair. And not only that, but you gotta look at repair work first.
And a lot of these streets that come up for paving that don't have curb and gutter, it doesn't make really any sense to pave them without curb and gutter. So I think that should probably be.
And it doesn't make sense to put new asphalt down if you don't have the proper storm sewer system, such as Steel Street, that we all took a look at.
And I have staff investigating that and looking in to see if it does need additional storm sewer inlets on the road before we go back and pave. Because right now we just releasing the water infrastructure improvements up there.
I don't know if this falls in line with infrastructure or pedestrian safety, but it was brought up to maybe put speed bumps near the soccer fields out there on Kerfoot. That is a terrible spot.
Raceway.
Yeah.
I think that should be part of our pedestrian safety.
Perfect. Thank you.
Because I think there's a few of those streets we have. What?
I got shot down on speed bumps.
Right?
I don't know where we're at
Bumps are illegal.
with that. As far as
They're illegal.
Other places do it.
Jellyfish.
Jellyfish.
What about it?
Bridge on Prospect.
Oh, the bridge on Prospect.
Yeah, to let you know, the bridge on Prospect, we know, that, let me back up. Last year, the bridge was inspected, and VDOT determined that it didn't meet specs, that we had to downgrade that bridge to 5-ton. We have a list of work that needs to be done to that bridge. We have submitted that to VDOT for revenue sharing, for we get 50-50. That looks like that may go through, so we may have to allocate some money in next year's budget to fund that project. But there were 2 projects that we put through revenue sharing. That was one of them. The other one was, and it deals with pedestrian safety, is the lights along North Shenandoah. That looks like that may go through as well, so they will pay 50% of that. So, those are definitely things that we will, as staff, be bringing to the table next budget cycle.
But going back to this one, I think we need to sit down with, like I said, with you and our public works director, and so work out a plan, and see what kind of finances we need in order to follow through with the plan.
Okay, so we want to develop.
I would almost say the first step would be goal of total dollars. Figure out the total dollars that we can invest in infrastructure. I have no problem with the sidewalks and roads and everything else, but all that's kind of mute if we can't spend $500,000 or $1 million or whatever it needs. Like, we need to know how much dollars do we have to allocate towards this, how much funding can we get, and then develop a plan of the streets that we can attack or be able to take care of.
Yeah, that's what what projects we can.
The problem is, though, you can't do revenue sharing until you have a plan.
Right.
And the street that you want to work in. So you can't add money in there if you don't know where the money's coming from.
So we're going to develop an overall plan with costs
Yeah.
associated with it by a certain date. And then another goal would be to explore all funding opportunities available.
I see what you're saying.
Well, what I'm trying to say, Joe, we can't do it all this year, but we need a plan for this coming budget. That's what you need. That's what you need to know.
Right.
So we need to sit down with a plan on what streets is more important than others that needs repair. And then come up with a plan and come up with the cost. And then work towards that cost figure in our budget.
Okay, so you want to develop an infrastructure plan for the FY 2021 budget.
Right. And then we can work forward from that.
Well, it really needs to be a short-term, intermediate-term, and long-term plan.
Yeah, so
I mean, it needs to be a comprehensive plan for what's going to be improved, when it's going to be approved, and then we determine budgets accordingly.
So we're going to develop an overall infrastructure plan with a focus on it.
Then the outcome of that's going to be what we're going to spend this year, and then how we're financing.
You gotta do it on a year-by-year basis. And a need basis, because, you know, if you have a bad winter, some streets will need it quicker than a street that we've already proposed. So that's the way it is, that's the way you want to do these streets. Because if you get a wet winter, it's a lot of snow, a lot of them deteriorates quicker than others.
We're going to develop an overall infrastructure plan with cost estimates.
And like Gene said, and financing options. You know, you may want to ladder bonds and
Right.
rolling out every 5 years.
Right. Yeah, first though, we got to get the plan together before we can then, you know, I think a goal too would be to fund.
Short term for this year, and then the long term
Right.
for the following.
Right. And that would be down here as part of that would be short-term and long-term goals. But the key here is, when do we want this due? This infrastructure.
It's got to be
plan.
done.
And it has to be
Before
done.
budget.
Yeah, it has to be done before budget. I release the budget to the staff late September, early October, BJ, is about that time?
Yep.
And then they have until normally mid-November. So this has to be done. I would have to, I'm gonna put it on us as September 30th.
Sounds awesome. I mean, that sounds awesome,
Is it possible? Yes, it's possible, because we already have a paving plan.
Okay.
So we just basically need to get that, reevaluate it, develop some cost, and think of a perfect world, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Well, the paving plan is nice, right? But just like Bill said, stormwater.
Right, right. And what I'm saying is some of that information is already available. So I really do believe we could probably put something together by September 30th that would address an overall plan. Now, the cost estimates and stuff and developing short and long term may take a little longer.
But in this whole process, what Bill's talking about and what we've said and what Chris is talking about, we need to look at the streets. Do they need curb and gutter? Do they need storm drainage? And work through that project in order to know exactly where we're at.
Well, yeah, that needs to be done first.
Because what's happened, I think what the impression is, in years past, thumb would get on the scale, and then this street would get paved, and that street is more random than it is a structured rollout.
It's more, in my opinion, since I've been in the seat for 3 years, it's more what we have funding for, and we
Right.
take what's the worst
Right.
of the bunch, unfortunately.
All right, what else?
Can I money be used for storm sewer installation?
Not storm sewer, not storm sewer. I&I is another whole issue when we get to talk about that.
That comes under the enterprise funds.
That's part of the reason why we can't get ahead.
That's right.
So we want to develop funding alternatives. That one I'm a little unsure of. I know it's part of the overall goal. And one thing I wanted to ask when we talk about curb and gutters and we talk about paving streets, there's been
Requiring people to do it?
requiring
Or
people, are we gonna mandate it or, you know, that's always been kind of a gray area and we've been back and forth on making the homeowner pay 50% of it or mandating it. I don't know.
Only if undeveloped property, if somebody goes in to develop the property, I think they should put the curb and gutter, because that's an improvement to the property, or you want to do an improvement to a vacant lot or whatever. For current homeowners that don't have any curb and gutter, I don't think we should assess them for that. Because it's actually on town property, it's going to be owned by the town, not by the homeowner. Yes, exactly. That's just like, you know, if Gene were to come out and park in front of my house on the curb and left his car there for a month, I call up the police department and say, hey, I got this old car out in front of my house on my apron on my curb, and they want to tell me that's town property.
Good?
I can live with these, can you, Gene?
Yeah.
I think this is a good start. This will get us going down a path.
Would tap fees be in there?
No.
You're right.
I&I issues.
You want to bring council on?
Yeah, we did get, town did receive a letter about 30 days ago, notice of violation from DEQ. It mainly had to do with the number of bypasses the plant encountered last year due to the heavy rainfall. And as part of those bypasses, I think our solids limits went out of whack. And so we had a meeting with DEQ. Just to let you know, we've been under consent order with DEQ since 2009. Okay, they have decided that they are going to write us a new consent order to include this new violation as well as the existing I&I. And the reason that they're doing that is the fact that it's been 10 years and they said that they need to rewrite this order and put some more teeth to it. So we're in the process of meeting with DEQ on a regular basis, negotiating what that consent order will detail. Right now, staff's working on a plan of action to address those violations. We already have a plan of action for the I&I where we're doing all this investment, and they're aware of that, and it seems to be sufficient. The true test will be next spring after we get done with all this. We're spending about $3 million this year on I&I. By next spring, we're going to be able to go out and do flow testing to see what that $3 million bought us. So that's really where the proof in the pudding is. So.
I'm sorry to act ignorant on this, but can you summarize, like, what? What? Because I'm ignorant on this?
You released the word, remember that you was saying, well, where did you
The
release
poop?
it to?
Yeah, no, I got that part. I got the solid part, but I don't understand, is it because we don't have appropriate pipes in place to have like the appropriate drainage, or where you have too much coming through our plant that we're having to, I don't quite understand.
Yeah, this year,
the problem that we're trying to tackle.
the problem is our.
Explain to him what I&I is.
I&I
That's
is,
the question.
yeah, I&I is inflow and infiltration. That is stormwater, rainwater entering into your sewer system, which then you have to treat.
Okay.
So what happened last year was, dude, we had so much rain. We already have an I&I issue, and our plant can only take 12 million gallons.
So more water coming in than we can take care of.
Exactly, and that water is coming in that we shouldn't have to treat, unfortunately. But being it's entering our sewer system, it's attacking our plant, and therefore it's an operating expense as well.
A lot of houses down in the historic district, they still got the petrified clay.
Mhm.
I'm sure there's still some asbestos pipe, things in.
Right, but I don't understand, if the more pipes you fix,
Once,
just the more water that's gonna run into your
The
plant.
We can only fix the mains.
when it rains.
The laterals that are going, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest issues right there, that would be up, I guess, to the homeowner.
Yeah, but I got that, but I don't understand, like, the more we fix or the more that we repair, whatever, it's just more water into our plant, right?
No,
No,
because every
no,
time it
because the
rains,
idea is
the
we're
stormwater
doing-
is actually infiltrating into the sanitary sewer system.
We're doing, yeah.
Pipes are in bad shape.
Pipes are in
They
bad
have
shape,
leakage.
yeah,
That's why
and we're
you get
relining them,
filtration.
we're relining the pipes, we're redoing the manholes, so like I said, the proof will be next spring when we do flow testing. Because the whole idea, when we got with the consent order, we broke up the town in different basins. And certain basins are worse than others, and so the DEQ has prioritized those basins. So we are working on 3 different basins that mainly are critically the older parts of town, obviously. And so those are the basins that we are focused on trying to make repair.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, whoever briefed us, I can't remember who briefed us on that, but when he's talking about the basins and we're fixing the basins, that's on town property. It's my understanding, my recollection, the major issues are coming from the town property line to the sewer line or the toilets or whatever, the house. So it's on the citizens' property where they have these old pipes, and you have storm drains tied into the pipes and whatnot, but the pipes are deteriorating at the homeowners, on the homeowner's property. So an I&I issue is, what are we gonna do? What's our plan for getting with homeowners and getting homeowners to allow whomever or however to get in and fix pipes on their properties?
I don't think you can do a line around those, though, can you, Joe?
You can now.
Yeah.
They're coming out with new
You can do a
methods
line.
to do it.
Yeah.
They can actually even do cast iron now, and it's what they do is they go in and expand it, and then they blow the liner back into them.
There are 2 problems, and you're right. One is the customer line, service line, and then it's our system. But our system, we have some big leaks, trust me. We are putting some money to fix those. So to me, yeah, you got 2 problems. You have the customer side and we have our side, but I do believe we're gonna have to go that extra step eventually and cross over and try to bridge a gap and try to get those repaired. But I don't know if the town wants to take that on right now because of the investment that we're putting in our own infrastructure.
What we should say is, I'm
It
sorry,
needs to be listed.
it needs to be listed. In 10 years, we're gonna execute a plan for the customer. Whatever that plan is, whether we start saving $100,000 a year, or $200,000 a year, or go out and find a bond. But in 10 years, at some point, we're gonna have to fix, I guess we need an overall strategy for
Right,
how we're
develop
gonna
an
fix.
overall
an
plan
overall plan for
on how to resolve the I&I issues.
Because look, our primary responsibility, we're a service entity. I mean, that's, you know, we're a public works service entity. And if we have pipes that are deteriorating, we've got to come up with a system and a plan to
Joe,
replace them.
how many mains are we replacing compared to how many we are lining?
Chris, I wish I could give you that answer,
I
but
mean,
I
is it
don't
like a
have.
50-50 or in other words, is the contractor we have doing this work, do they do both? Or do they do the liners and we do the replacement?
We have a contractor that does the liners, then we'll put the replacements out to bid.
Really, it's cheaper to do a liner because you don't have to worry about cutting streets up, repairing streets, whatever.
Right, but what I was gonna say is, would it be cheaper for us? Are we able to replace those ourselves instead of putting it out for bid? Would it be cheaper?
It's cheaper just to do what we used to call.
I'm saying when it
extension
needs to be
form.
replaced, would it
Yeah.
be cheaper for us to do it in-house instead of putting it out for bid?
Would be cheaper in-house.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why can't we try to save money doing it like that? Put that money towards something else or
But if you
the
don't have-
laterals, like the laterals from the customers. Why can't we put that money that we're saving towards that if we can? Instead of waiting 10 years down the
The
road.
problem is though, Chris, is every year, if you've repaired this system here, next year this system gets a little worse.
Well, that's what I'm
And then
saying
this
though.
system
If we did it
will-
in-house, if we had to go out and replace, why don't we do it in-house and save money?
When I was here, we spent $10 million on I&I, and we corrected a lot of lines, we put more integrity in them. But that's an ongoing process. And if you look at Front Royal, and anybody who drives around when you have a large rain, come down the bypass, you'll see the water.
Oh, I know that. That's been like that for years. It's-
Water comes into your lowest points because that's where it flows into the system. So that's where you need to really look at your overall infrastructure. And then when you go from there and you begin getting those things, and then you begin to branch out. When you get those done, then eventually, if we ever have enough money, then you'll see a big reduction in your I&I going into your sewer.
Right, but the thing I'm talking about, I understand all that, but what I'm saying is, in order for us to do more, to do more, we can save by doing some of this in-house instead of putting it out for bid. Just like they were saying, we have to do replacements, we put it out for bid. Well, I put it out for bid, we got, Public Works Department. I mean, are we just there to go out and patch potholes?
I can look at it, I can do an analysis to see if it's cost effective. To some degree, when you get out and you get a lot of work, it's cost effective to contract that out. But we can take a look at that. One thing I'll have to do is assess my staff as well to see
If they're not trained, let's train them. We don't go out and hire people off the street just to, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We want to take
But
and
let
keep
me
them
go
here.
back and see what the activity of my staff is and we can handle something like that. Because the problem with that is once you start cutting open a road, you gotta get to it and you can't do nothing else but that.
Well, we can do sections at a time.
Yeah, I understand, yeah, I'm not.
That's what they're
I'm
doing
not-
now, I
yeah.
mean,
Or hire a T or two more.
Learned it,
that money we can save, that money we save doing it in-house, we can hire more employees.
Replace it and repair it.
Right by Mountain Pot, is that?
Yeah, man, that's for all of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like that.
there's pavement right there.
That's contracted out.
Yeah.
I think those guys sit around with business.
jellyfish. Is this good? I think that,
Who's gonna own it?
I'm gonna,
I'll do it.
I'll do it.
Gary and Chris.
flip going.
We'll tag team.
No, we got plenty more for you. We got plenty more.
I really do believe that this is gonna take some time. Also, while we're concurrently dealing with DEQ and the consent order, I feel good, I feel comfortable that we could put something together and have some action steps and a long-range plan by the end of the year.
Does it, our engineers, it's gonna be, don't they recommend certain lines and all that?
Oh, yeah,
They used
yeah.
to.
Yeah,
that they would say this line needs, because this is a problem here.
Right, we have done all the in-house cameraing ourselves instead of contracted out because we have the staff. So we've been doing it, we've been filtering all that data to us. They come back after they evaluate all the videos and stuff, and they give us recommendations of what to do if it needs to be replaced or relining or whatever else. So, is everybody good with the end of the year on this one?
Who's owning it?
Well, that's,
Chris?
I'll do it.
Arma.
Sorry, Gary.
okay.
Gary. Gary,